And it looks like it is going. Hi everyone, Tigerhawk T3 here. First thing you'll notice is widescreen, because I'm using the other camera. It has a bit more delay to manage, so hopefully I'll remember to adjust it as the stream goes on. Anyway, today, as I mentioned a couple days ago, I'm going to talk about what is in this box. Ooh. I also mentioned that I'm going to talk about a flashlight. And that's what this is. And there's a bug flying around. That's okay. So, bug has to start flying around when I start the stream. I've been video bombed by a bug. Anyway, this is a Gatlight. It's been out actually for a few years. I want to say 2012 for some reason. I don't know. I don't know when it came out. 2006. Gatlight V2. Gatlight is here. 2006. It's been out for 10 years. Wow. 10 years, ladies and gentlemen. I've had this and barely used it for that long. So it's very nice. It's made in the USA with American and Swiss components. Swiss-sourced, machined stuff, custom screws and all that. There was a whole thing about how they needed custom screws that were awesome. So I open it up, and it's a flashlight. This is why it's called the Gatlight, because it looks like a Gatling gun with all the bars here. So this particular one is a this is the Gatlight V2, because there was an earlier one, and this is the second version, or no, Gatlight V3. I haven't used this in quite a while. This is a Gatlight V3. I am wrong. Unbelievable. I had to look it up. When did this come out? 2007. So there you go. Not that long after. But I didn't have a V1 or V2. But this is most certainly, I don't know how legible it is. Camera does not want to focus that closely. So yeah, well, not really any macro capability, sorry. This is what's called an action cam, or a GoPro clone. So it's not really intended for that. It's intended for mountain biking. I don't go mountain biking, I just want it on a camera. So anyway, this is titanium with stainless steel screws, and of course various types of components for the internals. And this dark part that you can see between each bar, that's the battery tube, and it is carbon fiber. So this runs on a single CR123A, a non-rechargeable lithium battery, or you can use a lithium ion of the size that's rechargeable, and they're 3.7 volts, but they really recommend these 3-volt primaries. You can see the spring in there, I believe. Yeah, I can feel that there's a spring at the positive contact, which is nice if you have a flashlight that only has a spring at the negative end. Is that the anode? I think. There's something about electricity where things are switched around, so I'm never sure about which one it is. But if you have a flashlight with a spring that only has a flashlight that has a spring only at one side of the battery tube, you set the flashlight down at that end, and say the spring is over here, and then you have the battery over there, and you set it down, and it goes clunk, right? And when the spring goes like this a little bit, notice how the positive end goes a little lower? and is no longer contacting the other end, the other terminal, that means your flashlight turns off briefly, which can be annoying. So if you have a flashlight with a spring at each end, then when one spring gets compressed, the other one relaxes, and contact is not broken, which is always nice. So notice the fancy custom screws. Wow. And here's the optic. It is an optic and not a reflector. And pop the cell in there. One of them is a cell. Several cells together is a battery of cells. So yeah, terminology. And here's the tail cap. This is where the guts are, pretty much. So this right here in the center, that is how the driver does its magic, which isn't just on and off. It's actually a pretty nice feel for the switch, and it is recessed so you can stand it on the tail. And I pop it in, screw it on as normal. Here's the cool part. Turn on, right? And I can turn the tail cap. And the output increases or decreases. So that's something. And it's pretty dim at its lowest setting. So the camera doesn't even have to ratchet down the exposure. It's totally fine. Good for finding your way around your room at night if you want. There are cheaper ways to do that. This thing costs $400. That's okay. And then increasing the output, and it's reasonably bright. I think it's a Sol P3. That's the competitor to the Cree XRE. They were good for the time. Now there are ones that are twice as bright or more. And again, it's kind of a costly light. I got serial number 12, I believe. Yeah, I got 12. I was worried that I wouldn't get one of these at all, because it was like first come, first serve, but I got number 12, which is cool, I guess. Yeah, but it's a nice little light. Feels pretty solid. Not super heavy because it's, I mean, titanium and carbon fiber is generally less dense than steel. Although lights are often made of aluminum, which is cheap and easy to work with, and has excellent heat transmission capabilities. Aluminum is very handy. So yeah, that is a Gatlight. It is not what I carry around. I carry around night cores that are made in China rather than United States, but each one of these cost a quarter of a single Gatlight V3 titanium, and they have a similar interface. It's on, and changing the output brighter and dimmer. It goes pretty dim, so that's pretty cool. I can point it right at the camera, and the camera doesn't even care, so that's something. And brighter, and this gets pretty bright. The max is 500 lumens from a single AA, so that's good. And it even has fun modes. That's a strobe and SOS, or no, first is red and blue, and a red and blue flasher in case you feel like impersonating a police officer. Do not do this. Do not try this at home, children. China has interesting ideas about what American consumers want, and I hope this is not one of them. It's kind of billed as a police, military, etc. It's, you know, I'm sorry to ruin your dreams of being the military supplier in the United States, but it's not going to happen. And it has, goodness, SOS over there, and a locator strobe that flashes every now and again. And that's it. They don't have a light of this size that only does this. They don't make one. I wish they did. That would be great. And this one runs on 2 of the lithium batteries that this does, or a single larger one. And this kind of battery, this type of cell, it's a battery of 1 cell, is called 18650 because it's 18 millimeters wide and 65 millimeters long and cylindrical. The 0 at the end, 18650, means it's a cylinder. And that's the kind of battery that powers pretty much every laptop ever. Not phones, but anything larger that doesn't need a small flat cell, which is generally a lithium polymer, uses 18650. So make sure everything's nice and tight. Similar thing here, only this one goes up to 1000 lumens, and it still goes pretty darn low. See? Camera sort of cares, a little bit. And of course, extra modes, because why not? This mode is a little locator beacon that flashes every few seconds, so you can find it when you have put it down somewhere in the tent, and you're like, where is that flashlight? It's blinking so that you can find it. Hooray! And SOS, of course, because everyone hikes all the time. And on the other end, strobe, because everyone likes strobing people all the time. Very useful modes. They include it, and they didn't have a model without it. So that's the one I got. They had another model with the they still sell these, because, I mean, why not? With the same modes as the smaller one, with the red and the blue, etc. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. I just want it to turn on and get brighter or dimmer as I require. And V2. I don't even remember the version number of my flashlight. It's a version number. That's okay to forget. But once again, that is the Gatlight. It's pretty cool. I guess I don't really use it because I'm afraid of dropping it and scratching it or cracking the optic. And then what? This is what people call a shelf queen. Something that sits on a shelf forever. And that's what I do with it, except it sits on a shelf in a box where we cannot see it. And then I put a box in a sleeve. And then we can't see it even more. Whatever. It's all good. So it's a nice little light. If you don't have one and you need a practical flashlight, I would not recommend it. Because it's more costly than a flashlight needs to be. Good flashlight. I would seriously recommend these though. It's the Smart Ring Tactical series, SRT3 and SRT6. They are very excellent. I carry them everywhere I go. And that is the stream. 15 minutes-ish, that's fine. If you have more ideas for stuff, I can show you other flashlights, or I don't know. So leave a comment indicating what you would like to see later on. I'm really not sure. But every other day is totally fine. That's gaming days. I have lots and lots of games. I still do not have a capture card, because those are like 200 bucks. And that's what would let me stream Dreamcast and GameCube games. Because those I can't emulate, really. And I can't read them either, because they use proprietary disk types. Like, for example, the Dreamcast doesn't use a CD, it uses a GD-ROM, which is a gigabyte version of a CD. So your computer can't read it. And I still have my Dreamcast, so I could hook it up, but it doesn't do that. It is not a streamlined process to dump ROMs of these games, even though it looks like a CD. It isn't. Same for GameCube. It's those small, like mini DVD something. I don't know. But that's the stream for today. Let me know if you have any ideas or things you'd like to see, and I will try to implement them. So thanks for joining me, and have a good one.